What's poppin', y'all? We back with another episode of the Squid Game Aftermath podcast. I am your host, DeAndre, aka Player 288, and today I have the privilege, pleasure, and honor to have with me a young, beautiful, gorgeous, fantastic, amazing, athletic, agile,
Wow.
swiftness.
Okay. I just got a hype man
Yes.
some life in you.
Camilla, aka Player 367. What's poppin'?
What's going on? Long time no see.
I know, right? It's been forever. I haven't seen you in like years. What's going on?
I know. It's a complete exaggeration. It's just the fact that I don't get to see you guys like on a weekly basis makes it so sad for me because I just want to spend all my time with you guys and just like love on you guys. And you guys aren't far from me, so I just miss you that much more.
I know, right? You jump, skip, and a hop away, but in the Northeast, that can be a little treacherous damage. So tell the people where you're coming from.
Rhode Island. So the smallest state with the biggest heart. That's like my number one. That's like my one-liner. Whenever someone's like, "Hey, tell me about Rhode Island," I'm like, "It's the smallest state with the biggest heart." That's my one-liner about it.
Yeah, I think you're the only contestant from Rhode Island too, if I recall. So that's definitely you putting on. You putting on definitely.
I was trying to put Rhode Island on the map. I mean, I did it a little disservice when I got eliminated, but I'd like to think that I did something for the state. I put it a little bit on the map.
No, you definitely did, and you've been doing that with all your social media content. So keep
Thanks,
all that
boo.
up.
Thanks.
But we're gonna get right into it, Camilla. Tell me, why did you decide to apply for Squid Game, the challenge?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for me is like financial freedom. My parents they immigrated to the States 30 years ago. My dad grew up like in a village where essentially you barter like sheep for bread and that kind of thing. Like the houses were built of stone and mud. And he came to this country and wanted to build something amazing for himself. So he put himself through school while having me as a baby, and built two businesses. So now fast forward a few years, he's a chemical engineer and he has two businesses, and he truly has that like American dream. So I wanted to give a fraction of that back to him to be able to like take care of him and retire him while also making myself like financially stable so that he doesn't have to worry about me either. So that was like my big push into wanting to do the show. My parents never made me feel like they struggled. I always felt like I had the best of the best, but little did I know that my parents were like not eating or not like buying things for themselves in order for me to have food on the table. So that was my little hope, to be able to give back to them.
Yeah, no, definitely shout out to the parents out there who's sacrificing, because as kids we don't recognize these things that they're doing sometimes. I just saw a post today saying like, my uncle sent it to me. He's like, you don't realize how bad you need your parents until you're gone. I get it.
Preach.
Sorry.
Preach.
So yeah, definitely. Okay, well, you got a rhyme and reason to get on the show, and you do get on the show, so you find out you cast it and whatnot, and it's getting ready time. It's getting almost time to leave. So that night when you're packing before you head out to London, what's going through your head?
I think I remember just feeling so like nervous. Like it was finally hitting me. I never get like gut feelings or gut instincts about things. I'm never like, oh, you know what? Like this is totally meant for me. This is totally going to happen. But throughout this whole process, as soon as I got that first call back, I was like, I think I made it all the way. Like I know in my heart that like I'm making it all the way. And I never got that feeling before. So as it started getting quicker and quicker to like when we're leaving, it finally hit me as like, I'm going to a different country for the first time by myself, where I have no family. I don't even know who I'm meeting, who's picking me up from the airport, what kind of car. Like, I don't know. There's so many unknowns that it's kind of terrifying, especially like you don't know. I mean, Netflix is such a huge, major streaming platform, but there's the whole process is very like hush hush, like you don't know who's picking you up. I've never been to that airport by myself. It's like there's so many unknowns. So I just remember packing and being like, Camilla, there's no point in packing too much because it's not like you're gonna wear any of this anyways. So I packed the minimal amount and put myself to bed. Couldn't really sleep that night. Woke up the next day and headed to the airport.
Okay. Simple as that. Simple as that. She had to get her mind right and her little bit of luggage right, and she was out of there.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit. So we get out of there and you take off and we get to the hotel. You quarantine for a couple of days and then it's time to head to the first game. So tell me what's going on through your head when you're on the bus headed to the first game.
At that point, I was really excited, but I was nervous because if I remember correctly, like the ride was really long. So in my head, I was like, oh, we're gonna be like a half-hour ride in London, and we'll get to whatever the studio is. And as they're explaining this and saying that it's gonna take a few hours, I'm like, oh, like where are we going? And it's just a bus full of people who are just dead silent. Like no one's talking. People who are talking are like whispering. They're getting in trouble, saying that you'll get kicked off the show if you continue to talk. So they're taking it very seriously. And I remember like in the seats just being like, oh man, like I can't believe that like we're going to do this. And in my head, none of us really knew it was the first game. So I'm like, I'm going to the dorms. I'm about to go see the dorms. This is going to be so sick. And I remember pulling up to where they filmed and it was a giant hangar. And I was like, what is this? Like, where are we going right now? And that's when it's like, I saw like the pile of buses. I saw how many people there truly were. Like, it's just so surreal to look back on it and to think like, you know, when you're like a little kid and you're like, whoa, like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like I got that feeling again for the first time in a really long time because I'm like used to my normal routine. There's nothing that's so crazy that happens in my life that I'm like, whoa, I can't believe this. So it was the first time since I was a kid that I was like, holy shit, like what is going on? Like, where are we? What is going on? What is this place? Who are these people? Yeah, so it was that first time in a long time that I had that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, that's a theme of the show. You know, kids' games, kids' feelings, kids' emotions, and it's all about the kids. Except we ain't got no kids around, thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, very crazy to kind of see all this going down. So you get mic'd up, you get in your tents, meeting some people, and we finally walk into the red light, green light arena. Tell me what's going on through your head when you first walk through the doors.
So it's funny because my player's 367. So in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna be towards the middle to the back. Like I'm at the end. The way that they filed the rows in, I was actually the first row to file it into the doors. So when the doors were closed, there was a tiny gap in between them. And I was the first person in line over there. So I was looking through and I remember seeing the doll at the end and I go, holy, and then like insert cuss word right here. And then everyone behind me, I have like 200 people behind me on this side before there was the other door. So like I have 200, maybe 300 people behind me. And I'm like, oh my. And then I swear. And people are like, what do you see? What do you see? And I was like, the dolls at the end. And I remember my eyes just like welling up with tears because I was like, I didn't even get to see the dorm yet. Like this, what is going on right now? And so I remember at that point, people are like, let me see. So people are like pushing me out of the way to kind of look at the crack. And all you see at the end is the doll with like 2 guards at the end. And it just looked exactly like the show. So it was just so surreal because I was like, this is really happening. They nailed this to a T of what it was supposed to look like. And I mean, you can see it when the door first initially opens. This one clip has been in the trailer and the teaser and whatever else, but we're all walking through and I'm just bent over like this. Like you literally, like my mouth, my jaw is like on the floor just because I was just so shocked still to like be walking onto it and being like, oh my gosh, this is the length of like a football field. This is crazy.
No, it was nuts. And you being the first person to kind of see that, I remember before the doors open, there was a lot of yelling and hollering up at the front because I was near the back, and it was like, what is all this noise? Like, what's going on? I didn't get enough money already here? So what's happening?
It's me being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening, and everyone else being like, what? We're not at the dorm. We're playing the game. What? So yeah.
I knew we were doing red light, green light that day because they did have on our piece of paper before we left the hotel that we were doing the game. But I thought we were going to unpack our stuff, get to the dorms first, and then go do it. But, you know, we were surprised.
Joke's on us.
Exactly. So, yeah, we get in there in awe and amazement. And, you know, finally explain the rules of the game. Of course, duh, it's red light, green light. And we do our little practice round, and then it's time for the real thing. So what's your strategy going into this?
So I went into it thinking just like the show. So I was like, you know what, Camilla, go low and slow, take big strides, but really take your time and pace yourself. And so I had that strategy going into it, and then the game clock started. And all of a sudden everyone's sprinting. And I go, okay, Camilla, just like maybe let's keep trying this maybe like a couple more times. I tried it maybe like one more time, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it if I move like this. I gotta run. So at that point, I tried a few different strategies of kind of staggering my feet, and then I realized that your back leg, whatever one is on the back side, you're cold, you're holding positions for a little while. So I felt like my Achilles was literally just gonna like snap. Like it just felt so cool to try to launch off of that. So I was like, okay, let's figure something else out. I had seen some people laying down on the floor, and I thought, okay, maybe that's a really smart idea because you can't really move a lot if you're laying down on the floor. I tried that, and that floor, concrete, whatever, was just so cold on my hands and on my face. And I was like, this is awful. So then I ultimately just kept doing run, hands in the pockets, and just like a stance where I'm just 2 feet shoulder width apart. That was a little hard because sometimes you just want to like move a little bit, like put a little weight on one hip or move to the other hip. And obviously you couldn't do that, but that ended up being like my strategy that I ended up using. And I would stop like 1 second before the song ended because I knew the song. To my surprise, a lot of people didn't know the song. People really thought that it was red light and green light because they watched it in English. But there's a song. So I actually knew the song, so I knew when to stop.
Yeah, I didn't know there was an English version of red light, green light. So maybe I should look that up and see what it actually is. I had no idea. But yeah, I figured it was gonna be the Korean version. But yeah, we get there and it's, you got your strategy down, and so you're inching your way forward, creeping forward, and you find yourself getting closer to the finish line, and the finish line is in sight. What's going through your head?
I remember being like, okay, because they were so strict with the rules. I remember thinking, Camilla, like, if one foot's not in, you're going to get disqualified. So make sure that whatever one that you cross all the way on, you like fully commit. It needs to be enough time and you fully commit over. So I was in either, it's a little wishy-washy for me, but I was either in the second to last or the third to last like heat. And at that point I made friends with 2 people that ended up finishing with me. One is a girl named Passion. She was in the dorms with us, and she was from Hawaii, and she was awesome. She was so much fun. And she was 3'6" 8 because I was 3'6" 7. And then the other person is Mr. Steven, of the dynamic duo of Steven and Rick. At the time, his friend got eliminated, and in the beginning, we were chit-chatting, and his friend Chase was like giving me shit, and he was like, he was just like being cocky and funny and whatever else. And he got out in the second round. So Steven was so upset, but I got to know Steven through that, which was really cool. And I don't know if I would have had the opportunity if his friend was still in the game. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, definitely. Shout out Steven and Chase. Knowing them two now after the game and whatnot, I don't know if you would have had that great a relationship with him. I feel like they said their strategy was like not to be too tight, but I can't see them following through with that strategy because I know how they are. So
no shot. I mean, even just seeing them like before red light, green light, while we were all waiting before the game started, I mean, they were like hooked. Like one was feeding off the other one, like they were just going back and forth. So yeah. I think that strategy might have gone out the window, and which means that the whole storyline would have changed. Like maybe Rick wouldn't have been friends with Steve. Like it's so crazy how one little decision affects everything else.
Yeah, 100%. I'm thinking the same thing because it would have been about them two, and then maybe they would have had Rick, but they wouldn't have maybe cross paths in the same instance or anything like that. So
exactly,
definitely very interesting. But yes, congratulations, player 367 passes the first game unscathed, and she is moving on to the next round. So we get up out of there, and it's time to finally enter the dorm. And tell me, when you first enter the dorm, what's going through your head?
I was shocked because they replicated the show to a T. So I think the biggest consistency throughout this whole thing was like me being so surprised at how accurate everything was, which Netflix dropped a little clip of like the producer of the show and one of the actors, and they were even shocked at like how accurate this was, because for them, some of it was even green screened. So the fact that they actually recreated an image that was green screened is like just bananas to me. So I remember walking in and seeing how high the dorms were, or how high the bunks were, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are so high. I'm so excited. Like I felt like it was like college dorm room type deal. But then it set into me that I was like, I gotta choose my bed before like a good bed is gone. So I went into like panic mode of like, what's the best spot? I feel like I should be near the bathroom because like your girl always uses the toilet in the middle of the night. So I was trying to be strategic, because the last thing I wanted was to go out because someone eliminated me because I go pee in the middle of the night too much. I was like, that's my worst fear. Like I'm gonna piss someone off. So I need to make a really smart decision, get a bed near the bathroom, and get like a middle bunk. And that's exactly what I did.
Hey, okay, smart decision maker right there. She's already thinking strategy and whatnot. Good, good. So when you get in there and you see all these people, are you thinking of meeting everybody or making a small group? And then who do you get close with?
So at that point, I was friends with Passion and Steven, like I said. So I kind of hung around them and Roland as well. And a lot of people can attest to this, but I was kind of like a little social butterfly. So I kind of went around to different groups and I would talk to people, and I knew at least the first name or a fun fact or where they were from every single player in the dorms, which makes 197 other people. So I knew at least something, or had a conversation with them, at least like the smallest bit. So yeah, even though I kind of had a group that I was talking more to, I kind of got to know a lot of people, which was one, just true to my nature, that wasn't even strategic gameplay per se, but it was two, it ended up being strategic gameplay because in my head it's also a way of people not wanting to eliminate me if they, and I mean you see that later on in the show, people get eliminated because they're like, you haven't even talked to me, so that for this reason this person is the one that I'm eliminating. So I wanted to make sure I mitigated that so no one could get me out because I didn't talk to them or had a conversation with them. But also I'm just kind of that kind of person. Like I want to go up to you and just say, hi, I'm Camilla. I'm from Rhode Island. Tell me something about yourself. And then go around and say that to the next group and just go down the line.
Yeah, no, definitely. I remember meeting you walking around. I vividly remember the Rhode Island, and I remember the quote you gave. So I was like, "Oh, this girl's cool," and you definitely good vibes and that we wouldn't have a crazy amount of conversations, but I remembered who you were, and I was like, "Oh, she's cool," so I'm cool with her, and then that's all you needed, really, in that kind of game. So
yeah,
good big props to you on doing that, and getting out there and being yourself, essentially.
Thanks, Boo.
So. We find out soon that, we're having a good time, but then player 200 gets eliminated. So what's going through your head when you see this go down?
I remember being worried that it was going to be me. And I think that's everyone's reaction is like, is it going to be me? Like, what did I do? I don't think I tipped someone off the wrong way. So I wasn't really sure what would happen. And then when the player number showed up, I don't know if they showed it in the show like this, but it showed like 2. And then the suspense, everyone's like, okay. So like at that point I was like, I'm good. And then 0. And then at that point, they definitely didn't show this, but 2 people walked towards the front. It was like 200 and like 202, I think it was. And it was going to be one of them 2. They just didn't know. And then all of a sudden the last 0 came up. And I just remember feeling so sad for him because it was so early in the show that I didn't think it was very fair at the time. I can get like strategic gameplay. For me, if I was thinking strategic, then I probably would have gone after like one of the bigger dudes, like a TJ, like someone who was like big, right? Like a TJ. Brighton had already made his personality like no, so that would have been like strategic. So to me, I just felt really sad because I was like, what did this kid do in order to stir people the wrong way? That he would get eliminated after being with these people for like less than a day, essentially. So I felt really sad for him. It kind of broke my heart. Then later on, I started hearing some stories like he cut someone in line for food, and it's so funny because in a situation like that, like it's not a big deal out in the real world, but when you have nothing else to focus on besides like your food, when are you gonna eat next? My water bottle's empty. Those little moments are like could be the reason why you get eliminated, and that's exactly not the reason why he got eliminated, but that's exactly the mentality that some people would think is, you know what, he stirred some pots, maybe he rubbed someone the wrong way, and that could have been it type deal.
Yeah, definitely. It just takes one little thing with the wrong person and
Yeah.
boom. So that's unfortunate. I think he had the worst end of the stick out of anybody in the whole show because
I know.
he didn't know who did it. He didn't have any control. It was so early. It's just like at least everyone else, like they either knew who did it, they knew that they might have did something, or they were cognizant of what was going on. He didn't know what the hell was going on. So
Yeah.
shout out to our friend Moti out there.
I know.
But yes, he's gone, and so we must move. And it's soon time to enter the white room for the first time and go to the second game. And so we walk into the white room. Tell me when you first walk in there and see these 4 lines, what's going through your head?
So I knew at that point, I was like, this is definitely Dalgona. Like 100%, no doubt about it. Now it's the next thing is being strategic and figuring out what line is going to be for what. I didn't think that we would get to choose our shapes, of course. So in my head, I'm like, these lines are associated with a certain number. Initially, I thought, okay, line 4 was umbrella in the show, so maybe it would be that again. Then I thought that might be too easy, so it's definitely not that. And then I kind of put my full trust into Hannah. Hannah was in line 4, and she and I had been friends at this point, and she was like, I've run through every scenario, Camilla, every scenario. This has to be circle. And I said, okay, I'm full of trust, whatever you think. So I got into the line, and you were there too. And I remember getting in line and being like, okay, let's do this. Like, this is going to be circle. I'm fully trusting Hannah that this is going to be circle. And then, of course, everything changes.
Yeah, everything changed. And actually, it's funny that you said that it's too obvious. That kind of went through my head. I forgot that went through my head because I was like, there's no way like they're going to do it exactly the same, you know? So
Yeah.
that's how I was thinking. And I was like, this is full.
Yeah.
Little did I know, career 4 is a bad luck number, but ultimately it did not come down to, it did, but it didn't come down to the number line you were in, but the circle people won't say the same thing. So yeah, we get in there and then we find out, yes, the first 4 people have to go in and they have to select the shape and they must figure it out. And then the chaos ensues. So first group goes out, boom, can't make a decision. Second group goes out, boom, can't make a decision. Third group does make a decision. And so with all this going on, what's your reaction to kind of all this chaos commencing real quick?
So the head of my line at that point was Spencer 299. And before he walked in, I like went in front of him. They actually show it, but I'm just like, hey, focus. Like, take a deep breath, because I can see it in his face. Like, he just looks like a deer in headlights. Like, I was just like, I could see that he's so nervous to do this. So I'm trying to get him to just like focus on me, focus on breathing. And at that point, when he had gone in and Brighton and him were talking, and he started crying, and instantly I knew that like this was kind of going to be it. Like, this is going to be umbrella. One of the things that I had told him before he went in was I knew from a prior conversation that Brighton would have done anything to play. So Brighton is player 432. So he would have done anything to play. So I was like, no matter what, stick your ground. If in the last 10 seconds he doesn't move, then you go over, you do what you got to do, hit umbrella, like we'll all be okay with it. Like, not a big deal. But just hold your ground, because I think Brighton will move. And when he didn't, I think they show a clip and it's just me shaking my head, because it was like this level of like disappointment of being like, it's like a dad. I'm just like, no, like, honey, what? Like, why?
Classic clip. Go check it
out. Yeah. Literally, my friends all turned it into like a GIF. I got like random DMs of me, just this. Like, you could just see it in my face. It's written all over my face. And I'm just, it's like, I'm not mad. I'm not sad. I'm just a little disappointed that like it didn't go, that he broke so quickly. In hindsight now, I mean, I can't imagine what that stress was like and everything. So I had just at the time wished he held on a little bit longer, because I did think that Brighton was going to move. So at that point, I was like, you know what, Camilla, you're just going to have to like suck it up for a quick second, and you just got to do it. Like, do what you came to do. You just have to be umbrella. That's all you got to do.
Definitely, definitely, 100%. So I ask everybody in the umbrella line this because I'm making a little compilation thing later for the people at home. So when did you think that when I was my turn to go in, did you think I was gonna? What do you think I was gonna do?
So when you went in, I was like, okay, I think that he's not gonna go with Umbrella, and I think that like if worst comes to worst, like exactly what I explained, where in the last 10 seconds, if no one moved, then you were gonna take it type deal. I was like, this is what's gonna happen. And at that point, I think I like started to panic because the first group already went. I was like, we cannot lose another 4 people. Like, we don't want that. And then I knew that your team had played like a running game, and originally in the rules, it was like you can't race, you can't do any other games, you have to like actually like talk it out type deal. So in my head, I'm like, if this is how they choose, I'm so nervous that DeAndre's gonna go home. Like, I'm like, I can't lose. We can't lose another person in this line because statistically, like, if we did get Umbrella, which we did end up getting Umbrella, but if we did, I was like, we're gonna lose so many people as it is. Like, let's try to keep our numbers strong here so that at least like more people can get it into the next round. And I'm a firm believer, I've said this from the get-go, that like I don't need to eliminate someone from the game and take someone else's chances away, because the games are going to take people out by themselves. So I just remember panicking, and as soon as the timer ended for you guys, for your entire group, I was like, shit. Like, literally, I knew it. It just like hit me, and then I hear a bop, 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 and I'm like, not again. Like, how? Like, how did this happen again? It was awful.
Yeah, it was a mess. You know, I was trying to hold it down, but you know.
I know. You had done so good too. I was so. I'm like, yes, because at the time when you had hit circle or triangle. So you hit triangle. So I was like, we're good. I remember being so happy and just being like, yeah, we're gonna get it. And then I think it was Kevin who came in after. And he was just like, guys, I'm not taking Umbrella. Like, we need to communicate. And I'm like, no, I'm so happy with Triangle though. Like, please don't make me go. But ultimately, it was just so sad to watch back the second time around.
Yeah, no, definitely, truly devastating. I'm a deep dive into that when I do my little episode, and I'm gonna give my unfiltered thoughts about that. So everything actually, not just that, but a lot of things that happened during then and after that.
Preach.
Definitely will be interesting to hear. I'm kind of nervous what I'm gonna say.
No, you're gonna kill it, and I can't wait to watch.
Well, thank you. But we move, yes. So ultimately, you get the Umbrella, unfortunately, and so it's time to get. You eventually walk into the Dalgona playground. And it's time to get started. So tell me how the process was getting into the room initially, and then once you actually get started on your shape.
So when I walk into the room, I see Spencer in the corner. And at that point, I'm like, okay. I had a feeling at the time, a lot of us speculated, like, do they just automatically get a pass into the next round because they chose the shape? So when I saw him, I was like, oh no. And he was just in the corner. A lot of us didn't go up to him. Some people, you could see in the video, like in the show, some people said something like really mean to him or whatever. They called him like an idiot, I think it was. But I think it was Malak that said it. But for me, I didn't go up to him just because I literally wanted to go find a spot in the sand that was close enough to my friends where if I needed to look at them for support, figure out what was going on, working for them, working for me, I wanted to be near them. And so I find a spot and I'm kind of near my friends, and production actually, in my head, I'm like, we're going to do it all at once. It doesn't happen all at once. So in my head, I'm like, well, now I'm screwed because I thought we were going to go all at once and I can find out what's going on. Ultimately, it ended up helping me not being in like the first section to go, because by then I kind of already knew what to do and what would work for some people or what did work for some people. So part of the game rules was that you could lift a cookie up and just double check that there were no cracks in it. So when I lifted the cookie up, I saw in the light the outline and I saw what parts were the thinnest because the light was coming through and what part was the thickest. And this is going to be so gross, but I held my spit for like 45 minutes. So I was ready to rock for that. And as soon as the timer started for me, I spit all of my spit into the top of the tin, and I would pour it into the cookie and then worked my needle through it. And the parts that were the thinnest that I knew, the needle broke through easily. And then the other parts that were the thickest, I kind of worked on it just slowly and then made sure the saliva kind of broke it down. And I was done with 5 minutes to spare, which was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was quick.
But one of the guards came over, and it was kind of hard because I had so much time left, and I kind of waited an extra minute, and it almost looked like there was a hairline fracture because some of it was like a little dark. But ultimately, it was because it started to break down. And so they told me to wait and not like pass me and then go. So they told me to wait until the very end of the game. And adjudicator came out, looked at my cookie, tilted my cookie up, and was like, pass. So she ended up passing me. And then that overwhelming emotion of just like, I just lost so many of my friends hit me. And walking out of that room was so hard. Because I literally lost like most of my alliance at that point.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, huge props to Camilla for one of technically 8 people to finish it on the show. That very difficult feat. That was the hardest challenge throughout the whole entire game. Maybe wear light green light, but it was the challenge with the highest unsuccess rate, or the lowest success rate for any single game in the whole entire show. So big props and claps to you. That's a big accomplishment. You need to teach umbrella cookie cutting spitting class or something like that. And I think you can make some money off that.
I'm already writing my course on it. It's funny because we went to the finale and they had the cookies over there, and I ended up taking a cookie home, and I had my fiance try to like do the umbrella. He broke, like, 1, he couldn't get it done in the allotted time, but 2, he broke it. So it's like it's a lot harder than what it appears to be. I think people go into it being like, okay, I got this. You have to be so careful with this thing, and it's so hard. I was one of only 2 women to make it. It was only me, myself, and Hannah, of the ladies who made it through, of the 8 who made it through. So it was definitely no easy feat. It was incredibly difficult.
Huge props to you, Camilla. That's definitely, you earning it right now. You earning it. And I want to see people earn it in this show. That's the biggest thing, and that's my theme throughout it. I just want to see people earn it. And if you went Umbrella Line, you earned your way to the finale, in my opinion.
I wish that was the case.
They should have let the Umbrella people skip the next game and move on to the next. That's my opinion, but it is what it is,
I agree.
That's just how it is. But yes, we get back into the dorm soon, and we soon see this telephone. Are you thinking about grabbing this telephone?
No, I'm not touching this telephone. So I remember seeing it, and no one really knew what it was, obviously. So we're all kind of going up to it. I'm inspecting it. I'm like, I'm not going to pick it up, but I'm just going to look at it. I'll check it out. I'll scope it out. And I remember hearing it ring and being like, Camilla, just don't touch it. Like, it's whatever it is, it's not worth it, because the last thing you want is to be eliminated. So it was funny because at that point I had my first real MIV, or actually second real MIV at that point. And they asked me about it, and they're like, are you gonna pick up the phone? And I was like, I'm not touching that damn phone. I don't care if you give me $100,000. I'm not touching that phone. Like, I just don't want to risk my gameplay for that.
Because take it for $100,000.
Well, I mean, now I would take it for $100,000 because I walked away with nothing. But at the time, I was like, I don't want to get eliminated, so I'm not going to take this risk. Little did I know that there were going to be treats involved with this, and so I still didn't touch it despite wanting all of the treats that came with it.
Yeah, definitely Temptations Island essentially is part of the game, is entering the Squid Games. If you ain't seen Temptation Island, check it out. Different kind of temptation, but to say the least. But yes, essentially 198 grabs a phone, other people get their treats, but then he answers it twice. He can't give it away to nobody, and 198 is shipped out like an Amazon Prime package to the next, fast shipping day. And
that is a really good analogy there. That was really good. Like an Amazon Prime package. I'm gonna start saying that now.
Hey, look, that's what people just, zoop, he out of there real swiftly, so shipped up out. That's what I like saying with his little exit per se for out of all of them,
I
because it
love
was
it.
so quick. It just happened so quick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, shout out Amazon. Sponsor this video if you want.
Shout out Amazon. Please sponsor DeAndre and myself. That would be great.
Exactly. We all need you. Come on now. We know y'all got it. But yeah, so eventually we get out of there and then it's time to go into the white room again for the third game. And so we walk in this time and we see that there are 8 lines. Now what are you thinking?
So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, so it's tug of war. Like, it has to be tug of war. So far, we followed the games to a T of what they were on the show. They didn't really bring a lot of emphasis to this, but they showed all the games in stick figure forms on the dorms of the wall. So I was like, tug of war, like it has to be there. It's on the wall. It's not there. So I'm waiting in the line. I'm trying to figure out what line I want to go into. At that point, I was already friends. I had become really close friends with Teo. Teo and I were close because we both finished Umbrella together. So it was like, okay, let's kind of keep this going. Let's figure this out. And I'm like, wherever you go, I want to go with you. And he's like, okay. And so at that point, we also started being friends with Big Chad. And Big Chad is like, guys, I pull 1,000-pound like trucks for fun. Like he just does it for fun. So I'm like, okay, we need him for tug of war. So we wait in line, we get in our line, and then all of a sudden more people join our line. So now we have too many people in our line. And people start panicking, like myself and Figgy. And we're like, okay, what do we do? Because the time limit's gonna run out. And now both teams are gonna be eliminated. Ours with too much and the other one with too little. And I don't want to go out that way. I don't want that to be the way I go out. So ultimately, the person who joined last ended up moving, which was fine. And I felt confident being in the line that I was in. I was like, this is a good line. I feel good. This is going to be great. I was very wrong.
It was gonna be great. Well, we go in there with good vibes and whatnot. She got Big Chat on her team, and she, you got a plan. That's good. We got plan this time.
Yeah.
So we get in there, and then soon we figure out that it is not tug of war. It is warship. So when you see the setup and you see what the game is, how are you feeling?
Instantly, I panicked because one, it was really, really cool to see. Like, it was one of the coolest sets to see like a game, a board game that maybe like a lot of us grew up playing in real life. But then I knew that it was going to be left up to chance. I didn't know that it was going to be left up to not just chance, but like not my chance. It was someone else's chance, which made it so much harder because obviously I didn't know that coming into it. I was like, you know what? It's going to be chance. I'll get to choose the spot that I want to be in and I'll sit in it and then I'll just be a sitting duck, but at least I got to choose it. Little did I know, like, I wouldn't get to choose the spot that I wanted to be in. So when I got put into the boat that I was in, I instantly had a really bad feeling. And like I said earlier, I don't get gut feelings. Like, I've never had that in my life, but for some reason on this show, I had too many gut feelings. And that was another one where I was like, I don't feel good about this. I want to be in the 2-person boat. Little did I know, most other teams lost their 2-person boat. Yeah. But I was like, I want to be in the 2-person boat. And in my team, the 2-person boat was one of the few boats that didn't get hit. So I was really upset. But I tried to hold it down because I could see that I didn't want to cause a scene. I didn't want to make it a big deal. Like, I'm just going to be in the spot that my captain wants me to be in, and I'll just go through the motions of it. I have really great people on my team. Mama Mai was on my team. My boat is the umbrella boat. So it's myself, Teo, and Saeed, who also beat Umbrella. I'm like, maybe this is where I'm supposed to be. Maybe this is a good sign. Like, maybe this is going to be great.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you guys got a solid squad. Brownie's a captain. And, you guys have a plan, I think, going in there. And, the game gets started and whatnot. And you guys sink their ship first. Mm-hmm. Yes, you guys sink their 2-boat first. And then they sink your 5-boat, which has 33 Figgy on it, 103, 248, 297, and 35. So they're all gone. So, it's like, okay, 1 boat's gone. What's the chances they hit mine? But you're going against Steven and Rick's team and Dan, the Gambu gangs over there. So you guys are formidable opponents.
Yep.
Unfortunately, yeah, they don't focus too much on your guys' point of view, unfortunately, on this game, on the episode show. We see a lot of them, but yeah, the game's really tight. It's a close game, and
Uh-huh.
it gets down to the nitty gritty, and your boat eventually gets hit, the 3 boat, and it's down to the last moves. And so when
Yeah.
it's down, and it's down to the last moves because you guys know where their last ship is. Tell me what you feeling.
Yeah, so they originally hit the middle spot in my boat, and so at that point I'm like, ooh, this isn't good. And then eventually then we keep hitting and missing actually. So we knew where one spot was, but we like had the one spot nailed, but we couldn't find the second spot. So we hit one direction, miss, another one, miss, another one. Like we just kept missing until we finally found where that second spot was. And that's when I was like, okay, at that point now we had their next spot and they took out Teo in the first seat. So now we're 2 spots down, 1 left, which is me. And because now we knew where their second spot is, all we needed was like that 1 additional spot. And so I remember hearing on the other side, little did I know it was going to be Steven and Rick. And this is what I mean by one small change in the storyline could change everything. Because that could have been the difference of Steven and Rick going home and that was it. And my storyline continuing. So I remember hearing from the other side, like, where are you? Are you in F5 or F8? F5 or F8? And I was just like, everyone shut up. Like, do not talk. Do not say anything. And at that point, I didn't know until I watched the show that most people were saying F5. And then here was Dr. Rick coming in saying he felt confident about 8. And I remember hearing them say, I think let's go with 8. And at that point, the 3 of us just like hugged in the boat. I think that's when I instantly started like crying. And it said prepare for launch. And I was like, if they miss, this is going to be great. Like I'm going back to the dorms, but if they're going off of what they just said, they're going to choose my spot and that's it. And then my light went out and my heart sunk. But when that happened, I remember seeing the tears in Brownie's face of Brownie feeling so awful that I was like, I can't let her see how it affects me because I don't want her to feel worse than she already feels because she felt really, really awful. So that's when I kind of like honed it in and I was just like, it's okay. Like, it's going to be okay. They hustled us all back onto the buses after. We had snacks and then we kind of had a little powwow session after. And I knew instantly that like I was feeling down bad, but like she was feeling, and it's so funny to look back in hindsight, like I said, because it's like I never get those feelings of like those instinctual feelings. And I did multiple times in the show. So I feel like the universe, and this is also by chance, the spot that I was in was F8. So I keep saying that like fate has something else in store for me. It has to be, the universe sent me a sign that there's something else in there for me. I'll just have to wait and find out what it is.
Yeah, no, definitely. I can highly attest, the feelings behind that and whatnot. And, there's reasons for everything, That was the time you were supposed to go, whether anyone else liked it or not. And you did all that you could.
Yeah.
And so, that's the nature of the game, the nature kind of how everything went down. And like you said, just one small little change, say Rick was on another boat and they would all picked F5, and that's just kind of how it worked out and whatnot. But yeah, that's sadly where our friend 367 journey ends, is on the Titanic boat.
It's so sad. It's funny because Steven, actually, I was friends with Steven, like I said, and Steven was trying to get me to come to his line. And even if I made that change differently in the games and gone to his line, maybe my storyline would have been saved. So I'd like to say that I have no regrets in the show, but I think I do. I wish I either went with my gut and spoke up, or I followed Rick or Steven specifically to where he told me he wanted me to be.
Yep.
So only regret I have, but it's okay. Lots of lessons learned, lots of friendships made, and lots of cool things to come.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think this big thing is, a lot of people made similar mistakes where it's like they didn't trust their gut initially, and then boom, like they're out. Same as me.
Yeah.
And so as long as I say we can learn from what things would happen in the past and we can adjust, then I think that's an accomplishment in itself and
I
whatnot.
agree.
So it's better to find something that you kind of like had a chance to do but you didn't, and then learn from it rather than just somebody like Mothi 200 who literally couldn't have done anything different. Like if I got out like that, I mean, I couldn't have done anything different. So
Right.
it's good to have something to look back on to kind of change and use in real life, and maybe if you happen to be on another show.
Yeah.
So you eliminated there, and so when you get back home to Rhode Island, tell me how you feeling.
Really sad. I remember coming in, and at the time, my boyfriend at the time had rented an apartment for us. And I remember like laying down in the bed in this apartment and being like, I should be so excited to be here in an apartment, living with my boyfriend, like back home. Like this is my normal. This is what I've done for 30 years. Like I've been home. Like this is normal. And everything about it felt so abnormal. Like I remember being like, is this wrong of me to be like, I would do anything to be in the games again? Like that's such a bad feeling. And I felt bad for him too, because I was like, this is not how I should be feeling at this moment. But I realized that I wasn't the only one who had this like feeling of like, I wish I could just be back in there and just continue going. So it was an adjustment. It took honestly a couple months for me to get back to where I didn't feel like that, and I was just like happy to be home. At this point, do I wish I was still like in the game and I could play the game? Of course. But it wasn't like this it's not this overwhelming feeling that I had before of like, I don't want to be here. Like I just want to be there. So I think I've come like a long ways away. And yeah, it's like, it's good to be home now. It's good to have these friendships. It's good to know who won the game. It's a lot of cool things that came about.
Yeah, no, definitely similar feelings and whatnot. It's hard, you have, and it's also the money too. You just had a chance of completely life-changing money, and
Yeah.
you just feel like a little bit robbed. You feel like you was done wrong, and it's fair to have those feelings and emotions. And I think, thankful we got to communicate after the show, or else we probably all would have went crazy and would have been on suicide watch.
100%. 100%. I think after coming off of the show, 2 or 3 weeks later was when we had our first New York meetup, and we went to Rosa Mexicano or something like that. Yeah. And it was nice because even though it hadn't been that long since I'd seen anybody, I was around this group of people who all could relate to this like weird experience that I went through that I couldn't really talk to anybody else about. And if I did talk to like my mom, my dad, it's not like they would have understood. So I was with this group of people that all understood what I was going through, which made it like cool and special. And although we've done so many more meetups since then, and they've all been really cool and they've all been unique because then I see different people. That first one just meant so much because I was fresh out of the show, and I needed that like community that the Squid Game, the challenge, like castmates that we met up with at the time gave us. So it was really nice to see them. It was you, me, Dash, Allie, Jada, Rob, Jordan. We had a good group going on. I think Mikey was there.
Yeah, Mikey too.
Yeah, so we had a good group going on. And it just felt cool to see everyone again.
Yeah, no, definitely good to see everyone, and very therapeutic in itself as well, just to know you're not going crazy and you're not like losing it. Like, oh, I felt like that too. Okay, thank you, because I'm not I'm tripping right now. Like, what's gonna happen? Is it me? And so definitely it's good communally to have that outlet, or else, who knows what would have happened. They would have to do a Squid Game post show. I'm like, what happened to this player? What happened to this player?
Literally though.
Well, cool. Well, yeah. Well, That was excellent, Camilla. Everything, meeting you on the show and then hanging out outside. I know you're a beautiful person inside and out. You have many great things going on. You actually helped inspire me to kind of do more content, whatnot in itself, seeing you do your own thing. I think the first thing I saw was a Dunkin' Donuts thing, which was really cool. So I was like, oh, okay, like, definitely it was inspiring to see all that. So I thank you for that as well.
Of course.
You definitely got good things going, and I want to, push, tell you, keep doing it, and do bigger and better things are coming away. Just keep staying the course, and you got it.
You're the best, as do you. I appreciate you so much, and I see all the things that you're doing. You're knocking it out of the park, and you were supposed to do this interview a few weeks back, and things just got a little too crazy and hectic. But I see what you've been doing. I see what you've been putting out, and you putting out nothing but like good quality and quantity and content. So I'm proud of you, and it doesn't go unnoticed. That's for sure.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Yeah, this is actually the last day we doing the podcast. But thank you. I'm glad we got to meet up, because I was like, I hope we can get up, because I probably wasn't, I knew it was ending soon. So This is the last day. We have, I'll get black. We got 3 today.
Okay.
But today's the last day. We have AK, and then we have Jackie and AK. And so them two, and then myself, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I think that should be it. As long as look, that should be it.
Okay. Tell them both I said hello. And
course,
tell Jackie I love her. I really love her. I think that's what that is.
Do you have any parting words for the people before we exit?
My number one thing is don't let yourself get in your own way. I went into the show not sure if I was gonna apply. I originally was gonna apply with a friend who didn't end up applying. I kept putting it off. I went on a trip, I came back, and I told myself, if it's still on there, Camilla, you have to apply. I applied, despite being scared and nervous to do it alone. And I got a call back the next day. So my number one thing is don't ever let yourself get in your own way, because you never know what's in store for you. The worst thing that you can hear from you trying out something is a no, or that maybe you don't do something well the first time around. But that doesn't mean that it's the end of your story and that's the end all be all. There's more things in store for you. So keep your head up, keep grinding, and whatever your passion is, just keep working towards it.
Hey, look, now I couldn't have said it better myself. Listen to this woman right here. She got a lot of wisdom given out, and it ain't even Sunday. Y'all
Thanks, Boo.
Snap your fingers. Come on now.
Taking you to church.
Exactly. Camilla, thank you so much for joining the Aftermath podcast. It was a pleasure, privilege, and honor to have you on here.
Of course.
And until next time, y'all, peace and blessings. We out here.